Hi all. In this video tutorial series, we're going to program in C Sharp. In order to program in C Sharp, we are going to download Visual Studio. We can visit visualstudio.microsoft.com and go here. You can choose community version because it's free. And then after you download it and install it, you're going to see this program, Visual Studio 2019, but you can download 2022. And in this scene, you're going to have create new project section. Just click it here. You will be able to see some kind of project templates. But if you don't see, no problem. You can always go Visual Studio Installer in your PC and then click it here. Then you can click this modify section. And you can choose which component you want to install. In our case, we are going to make some console application. Therefore, you can click .NET Desktop Development. After this one, you can just simply click the modify, and it's going to download and install necessary components. So now we are ready to create our own first application. Just click this console application, .NET Framework, which is in C Sharp, and then next. Now we can create our first application. First, console app, and then click create button. It will create a new empty project for you so you can continue your coding. So here we are going to see some libraries. So we are using these libraries. Each library has different duties. We will talk about them later. And then we have namespace. And namespace is it's actually a kind of scope that allow you to have same class in different subfolder. And then we have the class. We will talk about them after we finish the basic in C# coding. We'll talk about classes and object-oriented programming. For now, we can skip it. And then we will have static, void, main method, and then we will have these string arguments, and we are going to work in these curly brackets here given. So if you do any modification, there will be star here, and you need to save your program before running your. So now let's write something. I want to display something on the screen. In C#, you simply say console, write line, and then it will write. And then you can write whatever you want here. You can say simply hello world. So the duty of this method is actually print hello world on the screen. I want to just save it and run it. So you see that the program appear and suddenly disappear. The reason is because it worked actually, and after that suddenly terminated. If you want to your program shows and do not terminate, you have to write other things. Just console read line. So read line simply means it's going to expect the user input, and then it will wait until you click a button and then run it here. Now it's here, hello world. And if I click a button, and then if you just click enter anything, it will terminate the program. This is our very first program. We can write any kind of things. We can write different data type. This is actually text. So instead of text, you can use numbers and other things, and we'll talk about them. If you want to store this data, which is a string data, we need to have a variable type called string. So write string, can write my text is equal to then hello world. This equal here means that you're assigning a value to a variable. So it's storing your data actually. Instead of writing hello world, I can just simply delete this one and write my text. The IntelliSense will automatically complete your text here. And then if I run it again, it will show the same result here. Similarly, I can use different data types. I can have numbers, I can have floating numbers, I can have a boolean like true or false, or other words. So let's write some examples here. I can have, by the way, the program is going to process your codes line by line. It will first of all process this one, then this one, and that one. So if you do something like this, cut and paste here, there will be a problem, because you trying to write this text before you defining it, and this is problem. So you have to first define it and then later use it. The order is important here. So I want to add something integer, for example, number here. I can make it a 3 here, and then for each state you have to put this semicolon here. I want to make it 10, and then I can write number here, and then run it here. It will this time print 10 here. You can also do this one, and then my text plus number, and it will add this hello world to a 10, and then it will be a kind of new string, and it will write hello world and then 10 here. So if you want to add two numbers, you can simply say number 1 and integer number 2, and then you can make it 15, for example, and then you can sum these two numbers here, number 1 plus number 2. And then if you do this one, it's going to do mathematical operation within the function and then write it here, number 1 and plus 2. Or you can simply say integer sum number 1 plus number 2. And then instead of you writing this one, you can simply write sum, and it will show you the same result here. We can have different types of data. For example, we can have boolean. You can say is male, and this can be false or true. And then if I write the same thing, console write line, then I can write is male. It will definitely write boolean. Let's say I don't want to my compiler process some lines of code. I should do this one. This will comment out, and then it will be just a comment. This is not going to be anymore your code. The compiler will ignore this one. So I will write false here. And then you can have float numbers. Float, I can say value 1 is going to be 3.2, which is floating number. You should write float here. And then you can write another floating number, value 2. It can be 4. Actually, 4 it's integer number, but since floating number is also including integer, it won't be a problem. It can store integer value. The float is bigger set in mathematics. If you want to have a larger, a double precision floating number, then you have to use double, and then you can say value 3. And this time you have to write something, whatever you want. This is you don't have to use F here. It is double precision. This is mainly used to store money, because precision is very important for money. So, and then after that, we can talk about some other data types: integer, boolean, float. We can have char, character. Character can store only one single character. You can see character, and then you have to use this single quotation and then A. And then maybe we can print this character here instead of this is male. So character, and then run it here. It will write the A. Let's work with string. Actually, string provide us some kind of functions, and I would like to tell you how to make them. Before starting, I want to convert this to hello world, and hello start with uppercase. Then let me write it here. Console write line, console, then write line. You can say my text. If I say to upper, and now it will convert the entire text into uppercase. It will be something like this. Hello world. So it will print it. And then I can, if I run it, you can see that it's here, hello world. I can do the same in the same logic. And then console write line, we have short for this C and W, and then top. So you can say my text, then to lowercase. This time it will make it to lowercase here. This is going to be actually a method. We'll call this later, but for now, let's just learn how to use them. And then you can do some other operations. My text, if you want to get the length of the character in the hello world, you can simply get this number of characters. Here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, blank, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. It should be 11 here. Okay, so we can do some other things. If I want to write something, my text, and we have contains method, I want to check if it contains anything or not. So I want to check if it contains the world term. If it is, it should return true. So it's true, it's working. And then we can have other thing. If I want to get an index of any term here, any character in the string, I can get it. For example, the index of this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. A string is considered as actually an array of characters. So each character in the string will have an index. I can say console write line, my text, then index of, for example, I want to get the index of O. And then it will give me the index of this term. So it is 4. Exactly, 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. We can have this kind of a simple string operation in C#. And then there are actually more in here. But for now, we can skip most of them. We can have you can see here there are so many methods here, and then you can see them. You can remove anything in the character. We can split into 2 parts. But before, let's talk about an array later on. We can maybe visit this. Let's work with some mathematical operations. We will work with numbers. I want to comment this out, and maybe we can delete them as well. Just simply delete them all. But we will leave this read line, otherwise we won't be able to see our results. Let's have an integer number 1, which is going to be, for example, 5. And then integer number 2, I want to make it 2. So console write line, number 1 divide by number 2. If I run this one, you're going to see something interesting. It will be 2. This is expected because if we divide 5 by 2, we expect 2.5, but we know that 2.5 is not an integer number, it's a decimal number. There is no number to store this one. We can simply make this either double to get a double result. You see 2.5, or we can simply do the conversation here. Okay, this is a double number, and then do the operation based on this one. It will consider now number 2 as a double, so it will divide number by a double number, and it's going to give you a decimal double number here. So that's the idea of this one. If we can do more complex mathematical operations, but here for these purposes, we have mathematics library. I can say math and then dot here. You can have, for example, power. You can have absolute value. Let's say my number is, number 2 is -2. If I say mathematical absolute, it will give me the positive number So, and I want to just console write line and then cut this here and then simply just comment this out and then run it here. It will give me +2 because this is absolute function. We can have more console write line similar and then mathematics dot, for example, power. I can get the power of any number. For here, it will require double for, but it's okay. We can get an integer because double is covering integer numbers. And that function, we'll talk about them later, but it is going to return, give me a double value here. Okay, I want to get the 5 and then 2 or maybe 3. It's getting the power, third power of 5. So it will return 125 and then run it here. So 125. There are so many mathematical operations that can be found in this system here. In this system, and under this system we have a mathematics class. Under this mathematics class we will have some set of functions here. If you just control click, you can see so many things. We have absolute value, we have sine, cosine, other things, maximum, minimum, round, square, something like that. We can do some simple mathematical operation. For example, let's say my number is 5. If I say number 1 plus plus, it will increment by 1. This is actually simply means that simply number is equal to a number plus 1. It will add up. It will make this 5 plus 1. It's going to be 6. And number is going to be 6 here. And then if I write it, we will have this one number 1. So 6 here. So instead of doing this one, if I do the same operation here, this will first of all print the number and then later on do this operation here. So to see the result, we can write another one and then see. First of all, it will write 5, but it will increment it. Incrementation will be done after calling this method. And then later on, it will do this operation. So here, number value, it was 5 before, and then after calling function, it will be 6 here. Then later here, it will display number of 6. That is called post increment here. But if you want to see the same result here, you should do pre-increment. Now it will add, first of all, do this operation and then later printing. First, do operation, then print. This is actually this one, number pre-increment. But if you do want to say first print, then do operation, this is going to be number plus plus. Okay, this is, in other words, pre-incrementation, and this is called post incrementation. And then let's run it here. Now you're going to see the number of 6. First of all, did the mathematical operation and then print it here. Now let's get the input from the user. I don't want to get a number. I don't want to declare it here. Instead, I want to get it from user. What should I do here? I can say number 1 is equal to console read key. It's going to read, or you can say simply read it here. It will read the next character from the standard input system. It will get the first character from the input, then it will give you an integer number. But I want to, maybe what if I want to get 2 digit? In this case, it's better to read until I press the enter button here. Read the next line of character. Okay. So this is going to be string value, and I need to convert this to integer value because this is string. Maybe I can simply say string and say name, and then this will read string value. If I want to write this, I can simply say console write line and then comment this out. Now there's no error here, so I can run my program. Now it's waiting for me because waiting for user input. I can say hello world. So enter it, it will print out hello world. What if we want to print out integer number? So in this case, we have to convert our input to the integer because it's giving us string value. To do this, I can say my integer, say number 1, and then I should do some parsing from string to integer. To do this one, integer, I can use this integer 32 or 16. Then I can say parse. It will get the string value and then give me the short, but I don't want short. I want to just have integer result. So just click parse here. You see we have integer parse. It will get a string value, then return an integer value. So parse. This time I want to say console read line. Now this is going to be let's say if I put string value of this one 12, it will make this 12 to 12 like this, because this is not an integer value, it's a string value, but this is going to be integer value. If I put something like this instead of 12, I say for example ASD 12, it won't be able to convert. No input, no parsing at all. It will be a problem here. So we have to be careful about this one. Or we can use a try parse method later on. Okay, I want to just comment this out because it will wait for me to put a string value. I just want to put an integer value. And then there is here error. This is called a compile time error because there's no name here. I can simply ignore this line of code. Then run this here. Now it's waiting for me to put an integer value. For these kind of things, it's better to always write some text here. You can say console write line, please enter an integer value. And then this will be a nice message for the user. They can understand what to do. And I can say, for example, 12 here. Now it will write 12 value. Since we didn't say print this out, it won't show anything. I can say number 1 and then start again, write 13. So it will write 13 here. If I say something not integer value, for example ASD, and then it will cause input string was not in a correct format. Exactly. The expected one was a number, digits, but here we have some character, and this is a problem here. So if you want to check if your parse is correct, then you can use try parse method. So for this one, you have to have boolean, say result is equal to integer 32, then try parse here. Then for this try parse, we have two parameters. The first one is a string value that the value we want to take. This is going to be console read line. And the second one is actually we have out parameters. Out means the data is not available yet, but after this function do something, the value will be produced by this function. Therefore, we can write any variable does not exist yet. I can say out integer my expected number. I can say my just simply number. For this one, I can write console write line. If the result is true, it will write true. And then if this is true, that means we can print out, we can only display the numbers. I can say console write line and then my number here. Just simply comment this out. We can use this shortcut to comment out or Control K, Control C. So now, again, I'm trying parse whether I can convert or not. Let me just simply show you here. Let's say my number is 12. It's 12. It's true because it's parsed, and then the value is going to be true, 12. If I do the same thing for something like this, 12 and A, this time it's going to be false, and then the value will be 0 because there is no value here. The good thing is this will not cause an error if you use this try parse method here. So now we convert string value into an integer. What if we want to convert different value? There's another way to do this. We can have integer number and then simply say convert then to integer. Then we can write a value here. I can say, for example, 30. Then it's going to get this value of 30 and then convert to an integer value here. This is a different way to do this kind of things. Console write line and number. And again, I don't want to just print them out for simplicity. We can remove them and save it, then run it. So it will work here. So let's have some multiplication here. I can say number 1 is this one. And instead of writing 30, we can get a string value. It can take any parameters. Let's say I want to get a string value, console, and read line. Then it's going to give me the number 1. I want to copy and paste, take another one. This time is going to be number 2. Maybe we can write console write line. Please enter a number. And then I can copy and paste this one. Then put another one. Please enter another number. This time it's going to be, so let's say we can say integer result, and then number 1 multiplied by number 2. And this is going to be the result. And then if I run the program here, then we can say 12, 15 is going to be 180. Let's define some arrays. So to do this, I would like to comment them out, and then using this one, simply I want to just create an array of integer numbers. Integer, and say simply my numbers here. You can define this in 2 different ways. You can either put a number here, like 1, 2, 3, and 4. In this case, you don't have to mention how many items you will have in that array. Or you can have this one, new integer. You're defining that it's an array, new array, and it's storing a number. If you don't want to put element when you create the array, you can simply say, I want to put some elements, but I don't know which elements are, but I want to add how many, for example, 4. I need to have 4 elements. And in this way, you can simply say my number, the first number is going to be, I would like to copy and paste so that we can see them, the number, I don't want to lose them. So we will have 4 elements. So just simply 4 elements here. I want to add them all. My numbers, the first index is going to start from 0 and it's 1. The second is going to be 2. The third is going to be, you can copy and paste this, and it changes 0, 1, 2, and 3, and this is going to be 3 and 4 here. So if I want to display individual element in the array, I should simply write my numbers, for example, the 0, and then run it, and run it here. It will give me the value of 1 here. If I want to change any of them, it's very simple. I simply go here. For example, I want to change this one. So I want to make it, for example, 10. I should say that the element in index 2 is supposed to be 10 here. So now I can display the changes before this one and after the changes here. And then look at here, the first one. First of all, the value was 3. in the index of 2, and now we made it 10. It is 10 right now. If I want to know how many elements in the array, I can simply console write line, say my number dot length. The length is going to give me the number of elements in the array here. So, and if I delete some of them, and the value, the array is going to store at 3 numbers. Since there is no fourth number, then the fourth number is going to be 0 here. Let's say I want to write the last one. There is no last one. We didn't define it. That means it's going to be 0 here. So it's 3, 0, 4. This is, sorry, I would like to just comment them out to see the latest one. Okay, this line is going to tell me the latest element, which is here, the numbers that is not defined yet. That means that it's going to be 0 here. Run it, and then 0. So it will get a default value, because default value for integer it's 0, and then if you didn't define it, it's going to be 0. You can create any types of arrays. If you want to store some string data, you can say simply string, and then say names simply, and then new string. Then you can put whatever you want here. You can say Mike Jane, then Susan, and you can say console write line. I would like to write the first one, which is names 0, the index of 0, and it's going to write the Mike here.